Hi guys, my name is Barry and welcome back to the channel and welcome to my anniversary reviews editions on the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review for I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. It's been 25 years since this movie came out and it doesn't seem like that at all. It doesn't seem like that with any of the reviews that I do because I still remember when the movie came out. I was still in my twilight of seeing all these slasher movies from the late 90s coming out, and I absolutely loved it because I was getting a new slasher movie every 6 months or so, and I was just in my prime. And when I Still Know What You Did Last Summer came out, thankfully and luckily, I guess, I didn't even know this movie was in production. I first saw that this movie was coming out, not on a trailer, not on the internet, because we didn't have internet back then, but I saw it in my local video store, Global Video. I just saw a big standee of the movie and I thought, what? We just got I Know What You Did Last Summer and we've got a sequel already. I wasn't complaining, but if I was an adult at the time, I would think maybe they've rushed the production in that. But we'll get into the production in a few minutes. As always though, I did ask you guys what your memories are of seeing I Still Know What You Did Last Summer for the first time, or even just the build up of when the movie came out. I've got a lot of comments again, so what I'll do is I've selected a few of the comments and I will be reading those at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that because your comment might be getting read out. So going back to my memory of it, I was in the video store renting my horror movies as I always do, and if I didn't rent the horror movies I would just be standing there looking at the horrors for 5-6 hours on a lovely Saturday morning or afternoon. So I saw this big standee of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer and I thought, whoa. And it's even got two characters coming back from the original movie, Ray and Julie. So I thought, okay, this is legit. I can't wait till this movie comes out. So the movie didn't come out at this point. This was just the standee. It was just said it was coming soon, so it must have still been in the cinema at the time. So I waited and waited and waited, and eventually the movie came out on X Rental. And as usual, I would always get the X Rental first of all. I don't know why I'd done that. I would always buy an X Rental VHS. An X Rental is a movie that has been rented probably hundreds of times, and then I get access to this X Rental copy for a cheaper price. Now, X Rental videos, as I said before, but in case you don't know, and this is the first time you're watching, an X Rental video tape itself is more robust than a standard VHS tape, if you didn't know. So X Rental tapes are built to last because they're going to be viewed hundreds and hundreds of times, whereas a normal VHS isn't as robust and probably can still be watched a couple of hundred times, but it would wear out a lot faster than an X Rental. So I didn't mind that I would buy an X Rental tape because I knew it was built to last. So I did buy it. I loved the movie. I'll get into the movie shortly after my memory, but I still have this right here. When the movie came out on VHS to buy, not an X Rental, but to buy brand new, I bought it, of course. I don't know how I accessed this because I remember going to buy it from Virgin Megastore, I should say, and I didn't have an adult with me. And what age was I? I was 16, 15 coming on 16 at the time, and I managed to buy it, but it was an 18 here in the UK. So I have no idea how I managed to buy this. Now, with every VHS, not everyone, but any VHS that comes with anything inside, I never throw it away. And it comes with a nice little booklet. This is sort of like a special features for back in the late 90s. And it just tells you about the inside of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. It's got a lot of information about it, about the making of the movie. It's even got adverts, Neutrogena with Jennifer Love Hewitt. So this is a really nice trip down memory lane. Now, I did sell a lot of my VHSs. A lot of my horror movies I didn't sell unless I bought them on DVD at the time. But this was one that I felt like I just couldn't let go of because it was just one of those movies that I absolutely loved. And I know that it gets a lot of hate, which we'll get into, but it's just one film that I was really fond of growing up. And I didn't understand the hate. I didn't know there was hate for this movie until I discovered the internet. But it was one of my all-time favourites back in the late 90s, and that might be what blinds me when it comes to watching this movie, because every time I watch it, I adore it. The nostalgia just rushes into my veins, and I think to myself, wow, this is a great film, a fantastic follow-up to I Know What You Did Last Summer. The movie did come just over a year after I Know What You Did Last Summer, and in hindsight and looking at it now, I'm thinking, yes, they obviously rushed production here because slasher movies were coming thick and fast. The Scream movies already had 2 movies out by this time, so they obviously wanted to catch on and get a hold of that gravy train and get all the money rushed into it. Now, here's a strange one. The production for I Still Know What You Did Last Summer was apparently and reportedly $65 million to make. The budget was $65 million. Now, there's some people that say, and some websites that currently say, the budget was around $24 million. That sounds more realistic. However, I do remember, even when this movie came out on VHS, that I read and I saw on TV that it had a massive budget of $65 million. And even today, I think it's Box Office Mojo that confirms that it's $65 million. I don't know how this movie cost $65 million, which leads me to believe that it didn't cost $65 million. But if it did, then it obviously bombed at the box office really hard. But I don't know where that came into it. Now, maybe they spent a lot of money shutting off an actual island. I don't know, but I don't know how. If it cost $24 million, then the movie was a moderate success, and it makes more sense because it looks like a $24 million movie. So seeing this movie coming out so soon, I thought at the time, great. Then I seen that it had Ray and Julie coming back, and then I seen the synopsis and I watched the trailer for it as well. And they get isolated on this island for the 4th of July weekend, and it's raining, it's storm season. And I thought, that sounds amazing. Dude, that's something I would love for a horror movie. I don't know who thought of the story, can't remember who wrote it, but that's great. I think I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is still part of the book series. I think there's something about that in the books that leads on to I Still Know. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure that's maybe part of the book series. However, great story, great setting, I'm all for it. Now, when you look at the atmosphere for horror films, one of the main things for me is rain. I love rain. See, when it's raining and there's a storm and there's thunder and lightning and people are stuck somewhere, that's ideal for me. So it doesn't matter if the movie's mediocre, that adds to the element for me. And it certainly did in abundance, and I still know. There's some great scenarios in the film, some great chase sequences in the movie. I think the acting is great. Now, I know that a lot of people mentioned Jack Black, saying that Jack Black should not have been in this movie. Why was he in this movie? His role was terrible. I thought he was great. I think I'm the only person that thinks Jack Black was great in this movie. Now, he is uncredited in the movie. I don't know if he watched it and thinks to himself, I don't want to be part of this. Uncredit me. I've no idea, because he does play a big part in the movie. He's got maybe 3 or 4 scenes in the film, but he's one of the kills in the movie, one of the better kills in the movie. I think his kill was actually quite funny as well. I don't laugh at a lot of kills, but that's one kill that I did laugh at because of what he said in that scene.
No, seriously, don't do that!
But at the end of the day, I think Jack Black was a great addition to the film. He added a little bit of comedy to it as well. You've even got Oscar, I don't know if he's an Oscar winner or an Oscar nominee, but John Hawkes in this film. This was the first time I came across John Hawkes. I did see him in this and Rush Hour in the same year in 1998. So this was the first time being introduced to John Hawkes, and he had a lot of charisma in the film. Ray, he seems bland in the film, but that's his character. That's how he's supposed to be. I do think Freddie Prinze Jr. gave us a good performance in the movie. Julie was great in the film. I think Julie annoyed me in the first movie. I don't know if it's because I liked Helen a little bit more, because maybe Julie didn't have Helen beside her. In this film, she only had Brandy's character. I thought maybe I liked her a little bit more in this one. And I think Jennifer Love Hewitt, within that year, she was absolutely stunning. She was gorgeous in this movie, so I couldn't keep my eyes off of her. The first movie plays out sort of like a whodunit movie, because we're thinking it's maybe David Egan that's the killer, then we find out it's the fisherman that they killed at the beginning of the movie, or thought they killed, so it's a bit of a twist. In this one, we've still got a bit of a twist, because throughout the movie, we're thinking, is the fisherman still dead? Is Ben Willis still dead? Or is he back? We don't know. So I'm watching the movie thinking, is it him? Is it not him? Is it a copycat killer? Is it not a copycat killer? But we sort of get two twists in the movie, because near the end of the film, we find out that it is still Ben Willis. He is still the killer. We've got his son in the film. And as cheesy as it sounds now, back then, I was blown away by it. We've got Will Benson in the film, played by Matthew Settle, who played a great role in the film. And when we find out, we switch his name around. Instead of Will Benson, it's Will Benson. Will, Ben's son.
Ben's son!
At the time, I was like, whoa, that's Will Benson, Ben's son. I'm just like, I'm blown away here. This is great. And then there's another semi-twist in the film that I couldn't believe that I didn't get. Now, I love geography. I play FIFA. For those of you who don't know, it's a football game, and you get flags of the world, so I know every country in the entire world, and I know a lot of capital cities in all the countries around the world. And I was sure that Rio de Janeiro was the capital of Brazil. It was at some point, I think up until the 70s, and it got changed to Brasilia. So when the girls done the radio quiz and they said, oh, the capital of Brazil is Rio de Janeiro.
Okay, Rio de Janeiro.
And then the guy on the radio said that was correct. That was obviously Will Benson on the radio. They were bold to do that because audiences would have to fall into that category of not realising themselves, is that the capital of Brazil? We don't know. So they had to assume that the audience thought that Rio de Janeiro was the capital of Brazil. And it worked for the majority, because at the end, I didn't even question how they got the question right, but still ended up winning. Sorry, how they got the question wrong, but still ended up winning the competition. That was a bold move, and I think it worked. And then when they find out at the end, when it was Bill Cobbs at the end, when he said the capital of Brazil is not Rio de Janeiro.
Brasilia.
It's Brasilia.
That's the capital of Brazil, not Rio.
I was like, so is? How did they get that competition right then? So all the things started to unfold throughout the film, and I think some of the twists and turns were great. Some of the kill scenes were great. We've got some great cameos in the movie. Jeffrey Combs was in the film. Bill Cobbs, obviously, Jack Black, John Hawkes. The casting for this film was great. The setting was great. The atmosphere was fantastic. And I think the killers, at the end of the day, were also great. I like that at the end of the film, they left it kind of open. They gave us that dream scene sequence like they did at the end of I Know What You Did Last Summer. And because we found out that that was a dream sequence at the end of I Know What You Did Last Summer, then we all assume that the end of I Still Know is also a dream sequence. Therefore, there could be a third movie. I know there was a third movie called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. That's not part of these two movies. So I'm hopeful that they're still going to be doing a third one. Last year, that was announced that Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. were going to come back. But since the writer's strike and stuff, there's been no news whatsoever. So I don't know if that's still going ahead. Hopefully it does, because I do want to see some sort of closure for these two characters. I know that we sort of got closure in part 2, but because of the ending of part 2, it then reopens that door again. So now we're at the part of the video where I'm going to read out your guys' memories of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. So the first one we've got is from Only One Chris Fantazi. Chris, let me just click off this. Chris is one of my YouTube members, so thanks for leaving a comment, Chris. Chris said, being the first teenage horror movie to come out after Scream and a great young cast, I was kind of disappointed. I still enjoyed it, but expecting more. Well, I don't know if you mean I still know what you did last summer, Chris, because the first movie that came out after Scream was I Know What You Did Last Summer. So I'm not sure if you're getting them both mixed up. If you mean I Know, then not a lot of people were disappointed by that movie. I think a lot of people actually really liked that film. But yeah, the first movie after Scream, Chris, was I Know What You Did Last Summer. Chris also follows that up with the scariest thing was the outline of the killer and the murder weapon. Maybe you are meaning I still know, because you do get a kind of outline of the killer here, and he's got the weapon in his hand, which is the hook. So next we've got Eddie Chase 305. Eddie says a few things. Jack Black was so annoying, and I believe he went uncredited. He certainly did. Perhaps he owed someone a favour? Possibly. Also, I'm assuming nobody knew about the trip except her and her friends. Someone would have called her out on the Brasilia Real Capital answer and knew it was bogus. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning just earlier there, Eddie. I think the director, the writers, etc. were hoping that people were going to be duped by that answer, just like the characters were in the film. And I'll be honest, like I said, I was duped because I thought, is that right? It must be right because they got the answer right. And there was no more questions asked after that. So, yes, I don't know how that would have worked. Maybe it's a massive plot hole, but it was an intentional plot hole, of course, because at the end we find out that it was Brasilia that was the capital. So it was an intentional plot hole for those characters, not for us, because we do find out the right answer at the end of the movie. So, yeah, some people hated that, but I loved that part of it. Next up, we've got Matt Kirby, 5151. Matt said, the murder at the pageant was absolutely bone-chilling. There wasn't a murder at the pageant, Matt. Again, just like Chris, I think you're thinking of I Know What You Did Last Summer. He then said, then I remember Ghostface shoving a body in a garbage bag and mopping in Scary Movie. Then it just makes me laugh, but eerie all the same. Yeah, so they make fun of I Know What You Did Last Summer in Scary Movie, but that's I Know What You Did Last Summer. The pageant scene also was I Know What You Did Last Summer. So, Matt, you didn't comment on I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. But yeah, that was I Know What You Did Last Summer. Next up, we've got Michael Evans. Michael said, I saw it in the theatre back in 1998. Lucky you. At the age of 15. The same year I got to see Michael Myers in the theatres for the first time. Yep, that would have been Halloween H2O. I remember enjoying it mostly because of the setting, absolutely. I revisited both of these first two I Know films recently. Man, oh man, did this age poorly. Ooh. The first one had an interesting plot. This sequel is the definition of a heartless cash grab. I thought it was pretty awful on rewatch. I mean, I can't deny it was definitely a cash grab. The first one was probably a cash grab because they're trying to cash in on the success of Scream. But of course they're going to do a cash grab. It's Hollywood. Today, they're still cash grabbing movies, not just in the horror genre, but in every genre as well. But the fact that you didn't like the film, then obviously it confirms that the cash grab was a negative for you. Whereas for me, I think the cash grab was a positive because I love both movies. So it's a shame you didn't like it, but at least you watched it and you gave it a chance. Next up, we've got Anthwood Movie Mania. Anthwood says, my memory is finding it in Blockbuster on VHS as it had Sarah Michelle Gellar in it. No, it doesn't. Anyway, he said, it's Sarah Michelle Gellar in it, who I had a massive Buffy crush on at the time. I still do. And on sale, and still have the VHS tape in my collection after all these years. And the sequel on VHS too. So glad I bought them and got introduced to the Fisherman icon. Thanks for your comment, Anthwood, but you didn't really comment on the movie that we're talking about. And it unfortunately doesn't have Sarah Michelle Gellar in it. But the first one does. Next up, we've got Mike Joseph 6250. Mike says, I enjoyed it as much as the first. I think this was a Blockbuster DVD rental. Yep, well, it was a VHS rental for me. By this time, DVD overtook VHS, and we were loving the amazing packaging and covers that we do not get in Blu-rays. Yeah, just like I showed this. I've got this on DVD. It's down there somewhere. And I've also got it on Blu-ray. I bought it on US Blu-ray because the UK didn't have a Blu-ray cut at the time. And then a couple of years ago, 88 Films brought out the Blu-ray box set with all three movies, including the I Always Know. So I've got that as well. So I've literally got it 4 times. In fact, I've got it 5 times. I've got the X rental somewhere. I've got it up my loft somewhere. So I've got it on a physical copy 5 times. That's how crazy I was about this film. So I'm going to read one more comment out, guys, and then we'll call it a day. The last one is from Sebastian 04223. And Sebastian said, just seen it for the first time recently. Definitely one of the best slashers out there for sure. That's a good comment to leave it by. I'm hoping that you're talking about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, because half the comments I've read, people think I'm talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer instead of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I did write I Still Know, and I did put a picture of I Still Know in the question, so I didn't get it wrong. But hopefully you're talking about I Still Know, and if you are, I 100% agree with you. So that's my anniversary review for I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, guys. At the end of the day, I still adore this movie. Watching it today, I still adore it. Even without that nostalgia factor, I don't know where people are hating the film. I think people who are watching it today for the first time like it more than people that watched it back in the day. So if you haven't seen the movie before, I highly recommend it, guys, because it has aged well. It looks good. Jennifer Love Hewitt looks amazing in it. And the story, the atmosphere, the killer, they're all great. I don't know what the issue is with this film. I think maybe people didn't like it as much as the first one, which is understandable. But for me, I think it stands on its own 2 feet. But if you haven't seen the movie, guys, I definitely recommend it. And if you have seen the movie and you've got a memory of it that I haven't read out, guys, leave those memories down below. I do say this in all the videos, and I'll continue to say it. Thanks, everyone, for leaving your memories. Although I don't read them all out on screen, I do read them all. I absolutely do read every single comment that you leave. I do it on Instagram, I do it on Twitter, now known as X, I put it on Facebook, and I put it on the YouTube community. So because of all those comments put together, there's too many to read out, but I do read them all to myself, and I like them, I love them, I comment back, etc. So if you haven't already done so, leave a comment down below in this video and let me know your memories of I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And as always, guys, thanks a lot for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon.
Meeting adjourned.
I'll be right back. What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back!